guess I didn't see him. What are you looking so sad about, Jack?
I'm surprised. I mean, I'm really insulted. That's not right, what you just said.
What do you mean, what I just said?
I mean, I'm getting things about. I'm late getting home, but you talk. I said something about the greatest heavyweight champ, man. I'm a hometown man, and you talking about Joe Louis, man. Joe Louis wouldn't be nothing for me. Joe, I tell you, Joe, do you think you would have stood a chance with me?
Well, Clay, one time during my career, I went on a Bum of the Month tour.
Bum of the month. I would have been a bum compared to you.
What's happening, my people? It's Cass Sports again, back for another afternoon with the family. That's right. You know what time it is. If it's Monday through Friday, 2 p.m., it's the Boxtorian bringing you all that boxing history. Boxing is the greatest sport of them all. That's why we love it. Can't get enough of it. Miss Cass, salute to everyone and welcome to another episode of Cass Sports, the Boxtorian. Today, the heavyweight division. That's the family today. It's Friday. We are right back at the end of another big week of boxing history. Today is the day we normally do the profiles, and today we're going to look at 8 different heavyweight boxers today. Just a little brief chat about them and their careers, a little bit about their personal life. And the 8 is going to be Razor Ruddock, Tony Tubbs, Ernie Shavers, Joe Bugner, Roland LaStarza, James J. Braddock, John Henry Lewis, Georges Carpenter. Some of them were champions. Others were some of the best fighters to never win a championship. But most of them flew under the radar. But we're going to take a look at them today. Arnie Boxing, salute. The heavyweight division today. And tomorrow is it. We are here. Another big Riyadh season card. Excuse me. 4 championship fights on the card. I guess the weigh-in is today. I watched that final presser yesterday. Bill and Brian Norman Sr. I thought they both were very ignorant, man. It's all about their sons, and they sitting up there arguing like little children. That was ignorance, man. Both of them need to just keep their mouths shut, man. It's all about their sons. And anybody see that? You see that, Arnie? Bill and Brian Norman Sr. were both very ignorant, man. Sitting up there like little children, arguing back and forth, right? Even when they went to the portion where their sons were supposed to talk, the 2 fathers still running their mouths. That's crazy, man. I know I was embarrassed for them. It's just ridiculous. Then they threatened to fight. Oh, we're going to fight each other. That's not going to happen. You know, it's not going to happen. Just talk. I thought it was a terrible look. Not just for them, for boxing. You had these 2 grown men up there acting like children. But let's get into the show. I just thought that was very crazy. A bad look, you know. I know if I was their son sitting there, I would have been embarrassed. Mm-hmm. It's all about the sons, and they sitting up there arguing about Bill Haynes, let's fight right now. It's crazy. I know Turkey Al-Sheikh was part of this, shaking his head. Like, I should have left these 2 home and just brought the sons over here. But yeah, it's Friday at the end of another big week of boxing history. We're going to talk about 8 heavyweights today. Okay, but first, let's get to the fight of the day so we can get started. Yeah. But yeah, tomorrow is it. It's the card. I'm starting to give Anthony Yarde a good shot. I liked his body English yesterday. And he gave Beterbiev a good fight. And I don't think Beterbiev is no better than Beterbiev. So yeah. I'm kind of looking forward to that. Yeah, they both acted crazy, man, like children. Yeah, Brian Norman Sr., he high. Come on, man. No place for that. It's all about your sons. And I think both fathers embarrassed their sons, man. I know if I was the son sitting there, my father act like that on national TV in front of the world, I would have been embarrassed, you know? So yeah, no room for that. Let your sons hit the spotlight, man. It's all about them. The drunken Irishman in the building. And Al Booger in the building. The drunk Irishman is coming to us all the way from the great country of Ireland, man. Cast sports is worldwide. Ireland, Puerto Rico, Delaware, Florida, New York, Maryland, Kentucky, Massachusetts, Pennsylvania, everywhere. We worldwide. But salute Arnie Boxing, the drunk Irishman, Al Booger in the building. We worldwide, y'all. Okay, let's go with the fight of the day today. Wasn't that terrible, y'all? How Bill and Brian Norman Sr. acted sitting up there in front of the world? Embarrassing. Come on, man. Bad look. It's about the sons. We don't want to see these 2 big mouth fathers sit up there and argue. Let the sons talk. And remember, even when they went to, the man asked one of the sons, I forget which one it was, the fathers kept arguing. It's just crazy. But today's fight of the day, that was just my thoughts on that presser. It was crazy. Okay. Well, without further ado, today's fight of the day. Cass Sports other half. Oh, that's Miss Cass. Wow, that's an old name then. Okay. Should be better half. All right. But today's fight of the day is Jerry Cooney versus Jimmy Young. May 25th, 1980. A top contender is born. Cooney versus Young. May 5th, 1980. Salute Cass Sports better half. All right. Cooney versus Young, May 25th, 1980. A top contender is born. And here's a shot at Jerry Cooney on the screen there. Excuse me, I can't get my throat right. Cass Sports better half than gave me her cold. But okay, it's Friday. We're at the end of another big week of boxing history. Yeah, I'm giving y'all a legitimate shot now. I liked his body language yesterday. What he did. Got a very good trainer. So we will see, though. That's the good part about it. We will see. Cooney versus Young. I'm going to win this fight. Going to win it big. I've trained hard for this, and I've got it all together. I hear this Cooney kid is a puncher. Listen, I've fought punchers before and forgotten their names. This Cooney kid is just another one. The words belong to late heavyweight contender Jimmy Young and were uttered to Randy Gordon ahead of the veteran's scheduled fight with Jerry Cooney. The fight to be aired on live national television. And Young gets points for telling the truth. He had fought punches before, some of the biggest in heavyweight history. In fact, there's one of them right there. He had fought Kenny Norton. There's Young and Kenny Norton, so he was telling the truth. He had fought punches before. That was him and Kenny Norton in 1977. Excuse me. So he had fought punches before, yeah. The truth was, Jimmy Young, with a record of 25 wins, 9 losses, and 2 draws, was one of the most experienced heavyweights around, having given Ken Norton and Muhammad Ali himself highly competitive fights, and boasted wins over Ernie Shavers and Big George Foreman, 2 of the most powerful fighters in boxing history. So one must forgive Young for thinking a scrap with Jerry Cooney didn't represent anything he couldn't handle. After all, while Jimmy had been around the top tier of the heavyweight division for years, Cooney was just the flavor of the week, a green, unproven pretender, riding a wave of excitement that had more to do with his pasty complexion than his actual skills as a prize fighter, or so Jimmy Young thought. And there is Gentleman Jerry right there. Gentleman Jerry Cooney. Just Do Boxing in the building. Coming up at 4 p.m. I'm going to take you right up to Just Do Boxing's doorstep. You know, the balanced, unbiased boxing talk. Yeah, 4 p.m. today. Okay, let's continue. Fight of the day, Jerry Cooney and Jimmy Young. That's a shot of Gentleman Jerry right there. Yeah. Young thought he was going up in there against an unproven young kid. Young said, sure, he got a heavy punch, but I'd have fought George Foreman, Ernie Shavers, Ken Norton. I've fought punches before, okay? And Cooney was a rising heavyweight star at that point. Kong in the building. Salute. See, I told you we worldwide, all the way from England. Told you. England, Ireland, New Jersey, Delaware, Puerto Rico, Baltimore, Maryland, everywhere. Cast Sports is worldwide. But salute, Conga. How are you today? Okay, let's continue with the fight of the day. Okay. Now, looking back, Cooney versus Young was another classic crossroads fight. The stakes very high, and the consequences profound. This was the fight that made Jerry Cooney a legit top contender for the heavyweight title, and officially made Jimmy Young a has-been. After this fight, Cooney would knock out two of Young's former opponents, Ron Lyle and Ken Norton. And by that point, Cooney was a sensation, a prize fighter worth millions. But it was his battle with the man some felt had been cheated of a win over the great Muhammad Ali that marked a turning point and inspired millions of sports fans to crowd the Cooney bandwagon. Now, 5 months before facing Young, Cooney had stopped Leroy Boone in 6 rounds. That's him and Leroy Boone right there. Leroy Boone. Okay, Cooney had stopped him in 6. Kong says, Jerry Cooney is a converted southpaw. That's why his left hook was so powerful. Yeah, he had a potent, that was his most dangerous weapon. That left hook. Kong, that's right. But before the Cooney versus Young fight actually happened, the truth was it represented a serious test for Jerry. Jimmy Young being a boxer, not to take lightly. Having been an active professional since 1968, he had no doubt forgotten more ring wisdom than the young Cooney possessed at that point. Now, Jimmy Young's record was spotty, and he was years from his prime, and his ability to give Ali, Norton, and Foreman all kinds of trouble. But at the very least, he figured to provide a means by which to assess Cooney's potential. Okay? Young was still slippery and cagey. And if anyone knew how to exploit the weaknesses of a novice pro, it was the tricky, seasoned prize fighter from the great fight city of Philadelphia, Jimmy Young. He did it all early. Notice him and Big George Foreman. That was a great fight there. The high point of Young's career was his 1977 win over Big George Foreman. 5-round fight of the year. 4 or 5 knockdowns in that fight. That was a great one right there. That was a high point of his career, his win over Big George. Okay? 1977. I was thinking about Foreman and Lyle. I believe this one went the distance. Yeah. Jimmy Young and George Foreman. I got my signals mixed up. But that was a high point of his career, his win over Big George. Okay? So, Young is in terrific shape, stated one of the veteran sparring partners, Randall Tex Cobb, during the build-up to the fight. He's moving real well. Looks like the Young of old. He's nearly impossible to hit. That was one of his sparring partners, Randall Tex Cobb, who was a professional boxer himself. Yep. Yeah, the Young of Foreman versus Young was fighting to face Ali, right? Yeah, Big George might would have got his rematch. But Young spoiled it. I don't think Ali could have beat Big George again, and I don't think Ali was going to fight Big George again. No, he wasn't going to do that rope-a-dope again. He wasn't going to get away with that, so he probably lucky he didn't fight Big George again. Okay. Yeah, but Tex Cobb, one of his sparring partners, said Young was in excellent shape. Looks like the Jimmy Young of old. Such statements, no doubt, helped to fill seats in the Atlantic City Convention Hall. And indeed, it was a capacity crowd that witnessed the fight, along with millions watching on national television. But instead of a dramatic and competitive fight, What everyone saw instead was the birth of a phenomenon, the emergence of a new and potent force in boxing, Gentleman Jerry Cooney. It is Jerry and Jimmy during the battle. Young swinging and missing early in the fight. Yeah, the birth of a new phenomenon, Gentleman Jerry Cooney. Now, right from the opening bell, Cooney, 22 wins, no losses with 18 knockouts, took charge. His advantages in height and reach, allowing him to control the fight behind a stiff jab that forced Young to give ground. Now, the veteran fought from a half crouch, circling to his left, away from Cooney's vaunted left hook, the punch that everyone knew was the larger man's most dangerous weapon, like Kong was talking about. Yeah, everyone knew that was his most dangerous weapon, that left hook. Now, at the end of the first round, it was Young who snapped home a hard hook of his own, but the blow had little effect. Jimmy had never been known for his punching power. It was just another shot of him on the heat of the battle. Jimmy Young and Gentleman Jerry. Okay. So in round two, the pace picked up, and so did Cooney's attack, as he forced Young to the ropes and unloaded big punches to the older man's ribs. But between rounds, Young told his corner, "I think I've got his number." Okay? After the second round, Young told his corner, "I think I got him figured out." So let's see. Did Jimmy have him figured out? Very soon, that sentiment proved to be so much wishful thinking, as Cooney continued to stalk in round three, blasting away with heavy artillery to the body. Then, midway through the round, the bigger man struck with a hard jab to Young's face, followed by a vicious left hook and powerful right cross. The blows landed flush, and as the veteran backed away, seemingly stunned, he pawed at his right eye, where suddenly the blood was flowing freely. Cooney's punches had ripped open Young's left eyebrow. So now, Young is cut, and cut badly. Here they are. Now, after the fight, Young's trainer, George Benton, would insist the wound had to have been a result of an elbow or a headbutt. No punch, the veteran trainer and former top middleweight contender insisted, can open a cut that wide or that deep. But he was wrong. Nothing but leather struck Young's face prior to it being covered with blood. Okay? Nothing but leather. Just as Cooney's punches had torn open the mug of John Dino Dennis in their grudge match 6 months earlier, Jerry's awesome power had ripped a deep gash on Jimmy Young's face. Now hurt and bleeding, Young retreated to the ropes and crouched, hoping to evade Cooney's follow-up assault. But a thudding right to the body caused him to groan loud enough for those at ringside to hear, despite the roar of the excited crowd. The fight turned into a thrilling brawl, as a half-blind Young had little choice but to battle Cooney toe-to-toe. The veteran landed some solid shots, but he absorbed many more in return. And at the bell, with his face a mass of blood, he walked slowly to his corner, like a man turning away from some terrifying and wholly unexpected truth. That's just a shot of Cooney and Holmes, okay? The fight coming up after winning this one. Yeah, after this fight, the build-up began for a huge heavyweight showdown between Gentleman Jerry Cooney, and the Eastern Assassin, Larry Holmes. Okay. Kong says, Jimmy Young later ended up suffering from CTE. Yeah, punch drunk syndrome. And George Benton was a great coach. He worked with Evander Holyfield in his prime, and later with Oliver McCall and many others. Yeah, Georgie Benton was a great trainer. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so now Young is cut in trouble. So round 4 was a slaughter. Only the veteran's toughness and pride kept him on his feet and prevented the fight from being stopped. Knowing Young could not hurt him and that the contest was all but decided, Cooney unleashed a fearsome attack, slamming both fists to Jimmy's body before blasting him with hooks and right hands upstairs to the head. The blows reopening the deep gash over the veteran's eye and sending a spray of blood over the spectators at ringside. Now, Young threw just enough punches to prevent the referee from stopping the fight. And in rounds end, he staggered back to his corner like the survivor of a train wreck, his face bathed in crimson. Seconds later, the ringside doctor signaled the fight had to be stopped. And the jubilant Cooney raised his arms high in triumph. Yep, that was the end of it. And so, in just 12 minutes of action, Jerry Cooney went from being an exciting prospect with a big left hook to the most feared contender in the heavyweight division. Brutal first-round knockouts of Ron Lyle and Ken Norton would soon follow. And then the stage was set for one of the biggest and most lucrative title fights in boxing history. Gentleman, Jerry Cooney versus the Eastern Assassin, Larry Holmes. And there you have it, the fight of the day. Jerry Cooney, Ron Lyle, won by gentleman Jerry Cooney. Okay? So now, today is profile day. We're going to look at 8, the heavyweight division, 8 heavyweight boxers. Some of them kind of under the radar, and some of the most toughest, best fighters that never won a title. A couple of them got champions. None really household names. Razor Ruddock, Tony Tubbs, Ernie Shavers, the Acorn, Joe Bugner, Roland LaStarza, James J. Braddock, John Henry Lewis, and Georges Carpentier. Thought to be one of the greatest, maybe the greatest French fighter of all time. First is going to be Razor Ruddock. Oh, that's the Acorn. Ken Norton. There's Razor Ruddock and Mike Tyson right there. Okay, so let's get into it. The heavyweight division today. And we probably going to, for the next, excuse me for 1 minute. Let me retrieve my tablet first. Okay. Come on, tablet. Come in. Okay, there we go. For the foreseeable future, we're probably going to each Friday on profile. They go down the divisions, like 8 to 10 from each division each week. Be cruiserweight next week. We'll look at some fighters that like flew under the radar. Not the big names like, like Ali, Holmes, Norton's, Frazier, Foreman. And then all the divisions, we're going to go like that. But some of the fighters that kind of flew under the radar, didn't win titles, but were still very good fighters. And we're going to start out today with Donovan Razor Ruddock. That's him and Mike Tyson right there. Yeah, tomorrow is the big day we've been waiting for. Now, Razor Ruddock, the smash that shook the heavyweight era. Yeah, he called his right hand the smash. Okay, Razor Ruddock. Yeah, Miss Cass gave me her cold. I'm glad it's Friday, so Monday I'll be back good. We're going to work our way through this one, okay? Appreciate everybody in the building today. Yeah, Olympic gold medalist, Ray Mercer. Yeah, Ray didn't make it. I figured 8 was going to get us to plus Ray is kind of like a household name and everything, Kong, so I wanted these to be like kind of like under the radar boxes. Ray is well known, like you said, Olympic gold medalist. He's well known, So Razor Ruddock first. It's him and Tyson. Okay. Now, in an era when the heavyweight division overflowed with giants and gladiators, few men were as feared or as misunderstood as Donovan Razor Ruddock. Now, he never won a world title, yet his name still echoes among fight fans because of a single terrifying punch he called the smash. A left-hand hybrid of hook and uppercut that could send even the most durable foes into unconsciousness. Yeah, it was the left-hand hybrid of a hook and uppercut. Send even the most durable foes into unconsciousness, okay? Now, Ruddock's career was a story of perseverance, punishment, and near misses. He stood across the ring from Mike Tyson, Lennox Lewis, and Tommy Morrison in unforgettable battles that defined the 1990s heavyweight landscape. And though he often left the ring without his hand raised, he never left without respect. Okay? Never left without respect. From Jamaica to Toronto. Born December 21st, 1963, in St. Catherine Parish, Jamaica, Ruddock moved to Canada with his family as a boy, growing up in Toronto's tough Western neighborhood. As an amateur, he showed promise, even earning a split decision win over a young Lennox Lewis in 1980 at the Ontario Junior Olympics. Yeah, got a win over Lennox in the amateurs. Lennox avenged that in the pros, though, but yeah, he had a win over Lennox in the amateurs. Now, he turned pro in 1982, but fate nearly cut his career short. In 1985, after losing to journeyman David Jocko, doctors discovered a rare respiratory illness that forced him out of boxing. Many assumed he was finished, but Ruddock recovered, came back, and reinvented himself as a heavyweight wrecking ball. Yeah, he came back from that, had a respiratory illness, and everybody thought he was done, but no, he came back. Now, the rise of the smash. By the late 1980s, Ruddock was on a tear. He racked up 9 consecutive wins, including knockouts of Ken LaCusta for the Canadian title and former WBA champion Mike Weaver. Then came the fight that made him a star, a devastating 80-second demolition of former champion Michael Dokes in 1990. One perfectly timed smash turned the veteran's lights out, okay? Turned Dokes' lights out. The boxing world took notice, and so did Iron Mike Tyson, okay? So then came the Tyson Wars. The Tyson Wars. It is him and Mike Tyson right there. Let's talk about the Tyson Wars for Razor. Okay? Yeah, the Tyson Wars. The first battle, March 18th, 1991. At the Las Vegas Hilton, Ruddock entered the ring as Tyson's most dangerous opponent since Buster Douglas had shocked the world. From the start of the fight, the two men traded bombs. Ruddock landed his smash several times, jolting Tyson, but Tyson's relentless combinations kept the Canadian pinned down. In the 7th round, Tyson rocked Ruddock, and referee Richard Steele jumped in, perhaps too quickly. Ruddock was still upright, still throwing, when the fight was waved off. The crowd erupted in chaos, showering the ring with debris. Tyson had won, but Ruddock had proven he could hurt Iron Mike. Yeah, Richard Steele always jumping and stopping something too soon. Yeah, they threw bottles and everything into the ring after that. But Tyson won it. So the rematch, June 28th, 1991. Just a few months later. First fight was in March. The second fight was in June. Same year, 1991. Now, 3 months later, they did it again. Razor and Iron Mike. This time at the Mirage in Las Vegas. Now, this time, there would be no controversy. Iron Mike dropped Razor in the second round and the fourth round. But Razor got up each time, gritting through 12 brutal rounds. Iron Mike earned a unanimous decision, but the fight cemented Razor's reputation. Yeah, went down twice, but he battled back and went the distance with Mike. Even Iron Mike himself would later admit, Razor rather hit me with punches that made me see white lights. Okay? The Lewis reckoning, October 31st, 1992. Remember, he had beat Lennox in the amateurs, but Lennox got his revenge at the pro level. Okay, there's him and Lennox. The Lewis reckoning, October 31st, 1992. Now, Razor's toughness against Tyson made him a favorite against the rising star Lennox Lewis. In London, Razor came in favorite. This was billed as the fight for the right. It was a WBC title eliminator. They promised fireworks. Instead, it delivered a coronation. Lewis dropped Razor with a sharp right hand in the opening round, then finished him in the second with another crushing shot. The fight lasted barely 6 minutes. Razor's dream of a world title was shattered. Lennox Lewis's rise to dominance had begun. Yeah, that was very disappointing for him. Fight just went into the second round. Then came the Tommy Morrison shootout. The Tommy Morrison shootout. There's him and Tommy. This was on June 10th, 1995. Excuse me. June 10th, 1995, the Tommy Morrison shootout. And these are just going to be some brief profiles of 8 different heavyweights today. Now, Razor's final big stage came in Kansas City against Tommy the Duke Morrison, another power-punching crowd favorite. The fight was a slugfest from the start. Razor floored Morrison with a massive left hook in the first round, but Morrison survived and came roaring back. By the 6th round, Morrison's faster hands overwhelmed Razor. A savage barrage dropped the Canadian, and the referee stopped it. It was vintage Razor Ruddock, explosive early, dangerous throughout, but unable to withstand the tide of youth and speed. Yep, so another disappointment for him. He lost to Tommy. Fading lights and the comeback. Okay. Fading lights and the comeback. After Tommy Morrison, Razor drifted from the spotlight. He fought sporadically in the late 90s, won the Canadian heavyweight title again in 2001, and retired with a record of 40 wins, 6 losses, 1 draw, 30 knockouts. Remarkably, in 2015, at the age of 51, he returned to the ring, winning 2 fights before being knocked out by Dylan Carmen. In 2023, he stepped into the ring once more, an exhibition in Jamaica against James Lights Out Tony that ended in a sluggish draw. The life outside the ring for Razor. Yeah, 51 years old he fought, and then he had an exhibition with Lights Out James Tony in 2023. Remember that one? Yeah. Yeah, that was it, Cole. The pre-Emmanuel Lewis flat top version of Lennox Lewis. Yeah. Yeah. Somebody probably believe that ain't Lennox Lewis. Yeah, that's him. I believe that's the one Kong talking about. That version of him. Yeah, that's Lennox. Hmm. Okay. Life outside the ring for Razor. Winding down on Razor. Razor's post boxing life was as turbulent as his career. He invested in a nightclub called Razor's Palace, which folded. He patented a non electric garbage compactor called the Boxer, but it failed to take off. Bankruptcy followed. Yet, through it all, he remained a beloved figure in Canadian sports, admired for his resilience and grit. Legacy of a puncher. Donovan Razor Ruddock will never appear on a list of heavyweight champions, but he is enshrined on another list. The Ring Magazine's ranking of the top 100 greatest punchers of all time at number 70. His name survives because of those unforgettable nights, the wall brawls with Tyson, the sudden fall against Lewis, the shootout with Morrison. He was a man who could level giants with one punch, and a man who stood unflinchingly in the fire of the heavyweight division's golden era. In the end, Donovan Razor Ruddock was more than a contender. He was a warrior, and his smash will echo in boxing history forever. Donovan Razor Ruddock. Okay, we're going to look at 8 heavyweights today. Next is Tony Tubbs, TNT, big TNT. And again, there's TNT against Mike. Around these guys' times, a fight with everybody wanted to fight with Mike Tyson. Mike was the cash cow. Remember? Yeah, Razor Ruddock and TNT got their shots against Iron Mike. Mm-hmm. And then Don King, what he would do, you wasn't just going to get that shot with Mike. He was going to have you for 2 or 3 more fights after you got the Tyson fight. Yeah. Don King said you get this big Tyson payday, but you going to owe me a couple more. That's how the Don did it, right? Mm-hmm. Oh, Lord. Okay. Let me, excuse me for a minute. This thing is acting up on me. Okay, but yeah. This ain't my first rodeo. Got to go to the backup plan. But next is Tony Tubbs. Okay. Big TNT, that's what they called him. Tony Tubbs. But how's everybody? It's Friday. It's time for the weekend. It's one we've been waiting for here. Devin and Brian Norman. That way, I saw that weigh-in today. That was crazy. Is Mike Rim in here yet? I haven't seen Mike Rim. Yeah, Mike was saying Devin was running at the weigh. I don't know what he was doing. He was jumping up and down, side to side. And the fathers, man, they just embarrassed themselves and their sons. The way they acted, man. Bill offered challenged Brian Norman Sr. to a wrestling match right there on the spot, right? It was just crazy. Madness. Then when the man went to the segment to talk to the sons, the fathers kept talking, arguing and carrying on, man. It was just pure madness. Turkey Ali Sheik was probably in the audience just shaking his head, man. What is wrong with these two fools? Why don't they shut the hell up? Should have left them in the United States and just told them to just told the sons to come. Yeah, it was pure madness, man. Okay, but yeah, Tony Tubbs is next. Oh, let's see. Oh, wait. Bear with me for 1 minute, please. I'm trying to see what's going on here. Everything always acts up at 2 o'clock or 2:30. Worked perfect up to then, though. Oh, there we go. Thank you. 2 more minutes. We're going to be on TNT. That was what they call Tony, TNT. Yeah, I'm giving Anthony Yard a chance. There we go. Thank you. Against Benavidez. What y'all think? Yard or Benavidez? There we go. Wow. Slow today. Okay. I'm ready. Sorry about the delay. But now we're ready. Okay. Yeah, Tony Tubbs. A career of skill, struggles, and short-lived glory. That's him and Iron Mike right there. The Boxing Menu podcast in the building. The Boxing Menu podcast got Benavidez. Okay. But salute. Boxing Menu podcast. You gonna call a fight tomorrow? Boxing Menu podcast? He usually calls a fight. Does a pretty good job at calling fights. Okay, let's talk about TNT now. A career of skill, struggles, and short-lived glory for TNT. That's him and Iron Mike there. Like I said, Iron Mike was the cash cow. Everybody wanted the Iron Mike fight. But if you got it, you was not getting just one. Don King was going to get 2 or 3 more fights out of you after the Iron Mike fight. That's just how the Don did it. Oh, yeah, okay, the Boxing Menu podcast is calling the fight tomorrow. Okay. Early life and amateur pedigree for TNT. Anthony Tony Tubbs was born on February 15th, 1958 in Cincinnati, Ohio. Now, growing up in a working-class family, Tubbs discovered boxing in his teens and quickly developed into one of the most talented amateurs of his generation. Now, while many heavyweights relied on sheer size and strength, Tubbs stood out for his quick hands, sharp reflexes, and defensive wizardry. He compiled a remarkable amateur record of approximately 240 wins against fewer than 15 losses, becoming one of the top American heavyweights of the late 1970s. Now, Tubbs won the 1978 U.S. National Championship and represented the United States in international competitions, including the 1979 Pan American Games. Though he didn't win Olympic gold, his reputation as one of the quickest, most polished heavyweights in the amateur ranks was well established. And you know why he didn't win Olympic gold? Because the United States boycotted, but he was on that team, right? But he was one of the athletes that didn't get to go because Jimmy Carter was president, and because it was in Russia, Moscow, they had invaded Afghanistan, so the United States boycotted, and all those athletes, not just boxing, all the sports, the United States athletes didn't get to go because of politics. That was crazy. So he was not a gold medalist. Probably would have got it. But by 1980, Tubbs turned pro, bringing with him expectations that he could become the next great American heavyweight champion. Okay? That's what everybody was thinking. Tony Tubbs is going to be the next man in the heavyweight, next American to be the man in the heavyweight division. But, that was around the time we had Larry Holmes and all of them going strong at that point. Gentleman Jury and Jimmy Young, that was in the fight of the day today. Tony was in that era. Building a professional career. Now, Tubbs made his professional debut on June 14th, 1980, stopping Bruce Scott in the first round. From the beginning, his style was apparent. He was not a knockout artist, but a fast-handed, technically sound boxer who specialized in slipping punches and countering, okay? In his early years, Tubbs fought frequently, racking up wins against experienced opponents like Jimmy Young, Clarence Hill, and Blaylock McLean. By the mid-1980s, he had established himself as one of the division's top contenders. Alongside Greg Page, Tim Witherspoon, and Pinklon Thomas, Tubbs was part of a crop of gifted but inconsistent American heavyweights who were capable of brilliance on one night and mediocrity the next. But yeah, we had a whole bunch of big heavyweight names back then. Like now, the cupboard is bare, especially in the heavyweight division. Now, winning the WBA heavyweight title, Tony did become a champion. So, winning the WBA heavyweight title, okay? Tony won that. Tubbs' big break came on April 29th, 1985, when he faced Greg Page for the vacant WBA heavyweight championship in Buffalo, New York. The fight was billed as a showdown between two highly skilled heavyweights who had been amateur rivals, both Americans too. Now, Page entered as a favorite, but Tubbs boxed superbly over 15 rounds, using his jab and faster hands to control the action. He won a unanimous decision, fulfilling his potential by becoming the WBA champion. At just 27 years old and undefeated, Tubbs seemed poised for a long reign. His hand speed, ring IQ, and defensive ability made him a difficult puzzle for any opponent. Okay? Title defense and the Witherspoon loss. Title defense and the Witherspoon loss. Tubbs' title reign was unfortunately brief. His first defense came on January 17th, 1986, against Terrible Tim Witherspoon in Atlanta, Georgia. Now, Tubbs entered the fight overweight at 238 pounds, and his lack of conditioning was noticeable. I believe that was the heaviest he had ever came in, and it was noticeable. Now, Witherspoon, who was known for his awkward looping punches and toughness, outworked Tubbs over 15 rounds. The judges awarded Witherspoon a close majority decision, ending Tubbs' reign after just 9 months. Many observers felt that Tubbs had the talent to win, but his lack of discipline had cost him clearly, right? His lack of discipline had clearly cost him in this defense. This fight became symbolic of Tubbs' career. Immense natural ability and talent, but undermined by conditioning issues and inconsistency. Okay? So the Tyson opportunity in Tokyo, right? Where later, the Buster Douglas thing hadn't happened yet, but later, where Buster Douglas knocked Tyson out. He fought Tony Tubbs in Tokyo. I think we had this on a Fight of the Day one time too. Yeah. But the Tyson opportunity in Tokyo for Tubbs. This was a couple of years. I think this was 1988, a couple of years before Buster. Okay. Mike kept going to Tokyo. But yeah. After losing his title to Witherspoon, Tubbs remained in the contender mix. He rebuilt with wins over Olin Norris, Lionel Washington, and others. That led to the biggest opportunity of his career, a shot at the undisputed heavyweight champion, Iron Mike Tyson, on March 21st, 1988 in Tokyo, Japan. Yeah, it was 2 years before the Douglas fight, 1988. Now, Tubbs came into the fight lighter and in better shape, weighing 238 pounds again. But he was in a little bit better shape this time. A better 238 pounds, right? Now, in the first round, he used his jab and slick head movement to frustrate Tyson. Briefly, some even scored the opening round for Tubbs. Okay? But Tyson's power was overwhelming. In the second round, Tyson landed a ferocious left hook that staggered Tubbs, followed by a barrage that forced the referee to stop the fight. Now, Tubbs has shown glimpses of his old skill, but Tyson's destructive force ended his challenge quickly, 2 rounds. The fight gave Tubbs international exposure, but it also confirmed that he could not withstand the firepower of the elite punchers in the division. Okay? Got international exposure, but it showed he couldn't withstand the firepower of the elite punchers at heavyweight. Okay? Battles in the 1990s. Though his days as a champion were over, Tubbs continued to fight and at times surprised the boxing world. 1992, Bruce Seldon upset. Tubbs revived his career by defeating the previously unbeaten Bruce Seldon for the NABF heavyweight title. It was a reminder that when motivated, Tubbs' boxing skill could overcome younger, stronger opponents. 1993, Riddick Bowe, Fort Riddick, 1993. Tubbs fought the unbeaten, former undisputed champion in Atlantic City. Though Bowe won a unanimous decision, Tubbs impressed by going the distance and landing sharp counters on Bowe. Some even argued he gave Bowe more trouble than Evander Holyfield had in their first fight. 1993, Lionel Butler. Tubbs lost to the hard-hitting Butler in a 7th round TKO, showing again his vulnerability when he couldn't avoid heavy shots. 1993, Tommy Morrison. Tubbs was brought in as a test for the rising Duke, Morrison's power. He was brought in as a test for the rising Tommy Morrison, but Morrison's power was too much, and Tubbs was stopped in the first round. 1994 to 1997. Now, Tubbs continued to fight on a regular basis, often against journeymen or rising prospects. He remained crafty and capable of upsetting the odds, but his best days were clearly behind him in the rearview mirror. Now, fighting into his 40s, what up into his 40s, okay? Fighting into his 40s. Amazingly, Tubbs kept fighting into the 2000s. He won several minor regional titles and defeated club fighters well past the point when most of his contemporaries had retired. His longevity was a testament to his toughness, though some lamented that he never fully walked away. His final professional fight came in 2006 at the age of 48. Okay, he retired with a record of 47 wins, 25 by knockout, and 10 losses. Style, strengths, and weaknesses of TNT. Tony Tubbs was unique among heavyweights of his era. His strengths: exceptional hand speed for a heavyweight, sharp, quick jab, defensive reflexes that allowed him to slip punches and counter, A high-level amateur pedigree that gave him a polished skill set. Weaknesses for TNT. Lack of knockout power to discourage aggressive opponents. Chronic conditioning issues. He often came in overweight. Mental inconsistency. Tubbs admitted in later years that motivation was sometimes a problem for him. At his best, Tubbs could outbox almost anyone, but without the power of a Tyson or a Foreman, or the discipline of a Holmes or Holyfield, he fell short of true greatness. Okay? In TNT's Life After Boxing. There's a shot of later life TNT. Life After Boxing. After retirement, Tubbs remained connected to the sport of boxing, working with young fighters and occasionally appearing at boxing functions. He returned to his Cincinnati roots, where he mentored amateurs and reflected on his career. Though he never achieved the fame of his contemporaries, Tubbs is remembered fondly by boxing historians as a man of immense natural ability who on his best night could trouble even the best heavyweights in the world. Okay? Legacy. Tony Tubbs' career is often viewed through the lens of what could have been. He had the skill set to be a dominant champion, but his reign lasted less than a year. He fought Mike Tyson, Tim Witherspoon, and Riddick Bowe, and at times looked brilliant, but he is also remembered for inconsistent performances, struggles with weight, and a lack of sustained focus. Yet, Tubbs' name deserves respect. He was a world champion in the golden era of heavyweights, a fighter who beat Greg Page, outboxed Bruce Seldon, and shared the ring with some of the greatest names in boxing history. And in conclusion, Tony Tubbs' life and career reflect a fine line between talent and legacy. He had all the tools: speed, skill, defense, and a deep amateur pedigree, but discipline and motivation held him back from becoming an all-time great. Still, his story adds another fascinating chapter to the rich history of heavyweight boxing. A champion whose brilliance shone brightly, if only for a fleeting moment. There you have it, Tony TNT Tubbs. Okay? All right, next we're going to take a look at the Acorn, Ernie Shavers. The Acorn. Ernie. Okay. Yeah, Ali gave him that name because of the shape of his bald head. It's shaped like an acorn. Hmm? Yeah. That name was courtesy of Muhammad Ali. The Acorn. Ernie Shavers. Yep. Let's get into that. Let's get into the Acorn. Now. Yeah, all we got is a wake up. And the We Are season card is here. Got tonight, I forgot who it was on Pro Box tonight, but yeah. At Pro Box tonight. Mm-hmm. Okay, let's get into the Acorn now. Ernie Shavers. There he is on the screen. It's slow. I can't press it. Here we go. I can't find. Oh, I know where it is. It's on the chart. Here we go. The Acorn, Ernie Shavers. Okay. He wasn't called the puncher of the century for nothing. And there really is no denying the withering punching power the great Ernie Shavers possessed, scoring an astonishing 68 knockouts during his 1969 to 1983 career, with two short-lived comebacks launched, one in 1987 and one in 1995, where Ernie was in his early 50s. Shavers wrecked many a good fighter, okay? And it wasn't just Shavers' wins. He scored a number of memorable knockouts in fights he ended up losing, okay? See his brutal knockdown of the God knows how he got up Larry Holmes in their second fight. Yeah, we're going to talk about that, yeah. Fight which Shavers lost, but I don't know. Nobody knows how Holmes got up from that. And though Shavers was unable to drop the one and only Muhammad Ali when he challenged him for the crown in 1977, the Acorn, as Ali playfully dubbed the shaven-headed slugger, he sure put plenty of hurt on the aging Ali. Indeed, only Ali's chin, this even more legendary than Shavers' paralyzing power, saved the greatest that night. But Shavers, one of the finest, most dangerous heavyweights never to have become world champion, scored a number of notable and bone-crushing knockouts during his up and down career. Here are Shavers' best knockouts in reverse order. Roy Tiger Williams, Las Vegas, December 1976. Excuse me for 1 minute. Okay, yeah, I had the wrong story. Now I got the right one. Okay, yeah, there we go. That wasn't ranking no greatest knockouts. Here we go, I'm sorry. Okay, let's get into it. The Acorn, Ernie Shavers. Called by many the hardest heavyweight puncher in history, Ernie Shavers made his pro debut in November 1969 with a second-round knockout over one Silas Johnson. Johnson became the first of a number of fighters to be knocked flat or stopped. That number would eventually total 67, okay? Shavers didn't waste any time following up his first victory. He fought another 2 times in the same week, that November, okay? However, the third of these fights was his first loss, a points defeat over 6 rounds to a guy named Stan Johnson. Refusing to be discouraged, Shavers reeled off 10 straight knockouts after this setback. Then came a loss that would reveal one of the weaknesses that this huge puncher would have throughout his career, a suspect chin. Ernie was stopped for the first time against Ron Stander in round 5. It would be 3 more years before Ernie lost again. And despite the loss to Stander, he was about to enjoy a very successful role. Okay? Yeah, that was one weakness he said he had, was his chin though. And there he is against Jimmy Ellis. Okay. In 1973, Ernie, by now a rising contender, scored a knockout win that in hindsight was far more impressive than initially thought. Jimmy Young. He knocked out the incredibly crafty Jimmy Young, the first man to do so, and one of only 2 men ever to stop Jimmy, Jerry Cooney being the other. Remember today's fight of the day. This was a superb win, and one indicative of just how dangerous Ernie was in the ring. He followed this up with arguably his finest ever victory. He crushed former champion Jimmy Ellis in the very first round. Okay? Ernie looked very shaky himself before dropping Ellis for the count, but claimed later he was simply faking so as to draw Ellis in. It worked, and Shavers became a serious threat to reigning champion George Foreman. What a pity these two would never meet. What a slugfest that fight would have been. Him and George Foreman, wow. Now, unfortunately, Ernie lost some momentum after his great win over Ellis. He was stopped again in one round by Jerry Quarry. Once again, his weakness was exposed. Ernie may have been a lethal puncher, but his chin left a lot to be desired. If an opponent could get past the early rounds, this, as well as Ernie's suspect stamina, gave them a chance for victory. Shavers' high ranking dipped somewhat due to the humbling loss to Quarry. He was far from finished, though. After his loss to Quarry, he scored a first-round win the following year over Roy Wallace. And then, after a points defeat to Bob Stallings, he gave Jimmy Young a return fight. Young had evidently learned to fear Mount since his loss to Shavers, and this time he knew enough to fight to a draw, showing the cage's skills that would one day allow him to go to 4 15 rounds with Ali. Ernie's career carried on in its up and down phase the following year when he fought the huge Ron Lyle. Okay. That's him and Ron Lyle right there. He had Lyle down in the second round, but couldn't keep him there. Lyle, showing some of the same grit that would be on display in his incredible brawl with George Foreman 4 months later, hung in there long enough for Ernie to tire, stopping him in the 6th round of an entertaining fight. At this point, it was clear to all that while Shavers' power was something to behold, he was far from unbeatable. However, he was by now a genuine crowd pleaser. His kill or be killed style thrilled the fans, and his most famous and memorable fights were still to take place. Okay? Yeah, the biggest ones were still coming up for Ernie. In 1977, Shavers scored 5 victories after the wild affair with Ron Lyle and was given his first shot at the title. He was to face the incomparable Muhammad Ali. Okay? Yeah. His next fight was going to be with Muhammad Ali. By this stage in his career, however, Ali was showing some serious wear and tear. Looking back, it really was a crazy move for the aging Ali to sign to defend against the murderous punching Shavers. The fight didn't turn out quite like most thought it would beforehand, however. From somewhere, Ernie found the stamina to fight for 15 long rounds. And equally impressive, Ali was able to go to the wall one more time to pull out a grueling points win. Ali really had to take some bombs, though. He was badly hurt on a number of occasions, and only his legendary chin allowed him to survive. At the end, it was mighty close, but the judges sided unanimously with the greater. Ali lovingly dubbed Shavers the Acorn in the build-up to the fight because of Ernie's shaved dome. And to this day, the nickname has stuck. Ali would only manage one more win after the war with the Acorn. His return fight with Leon Spinks. Yep, that was his last win after that, was Leon Spinks, after the Shavers fight for Ali. After the confidence boost of proving he could go to 4 15 rounds, as well as giving the best heavyweight in history such a hard fight, Ernie entered the year 1978 feeling good. He fought fellow contender Larry Holmes in an eliminator for the WBC title and was as determined as ever to be champion. But Larry knew too much for him and won a wide points verdict. These two would meet again, though. Okay, yeah. Him and Holmes met twice. It is Shavers and Larry. Yeah, they met twice. At this time, after the first Holmes fight, Ken Norton was felt by many to be one of the best big men in the world. He had lost a razor-thin decision to Ali in 1976 and also gave Larry Holmes a grueling distance fight in a fight that contested the WBC title in June of 1978. Norton was no match for Shavers, however. In their fight in March of 1979, Ernie scored another great win, destroying Norton in a single round. This superb win earned Ernie a second crack at Holmes, who was by then now the WBC champion. And this time, Ernie did a bit better in the second fight with Larry. Yeah, Ernie did much better in that one. Yeah, that's him and Holmes right there. He cracked Holmes with a huge right in the seventh round, and Holmes went down in a manner that would have signaled certain defeat for many. Larry wasn't simply put on the canvas, he was almost sent right through it. How he got up and survived, no one, least of all Holmes or Shavers, will ever know. Ernie's chance at winning had passed as Larry regained the initiative and stopped him on cuts in round 11. Shavers' days as a top contender were over. Anybody seen that Holmes-Shavers second fight? I don't know how Holmes got up from that. Like I said, Shavers almost put Holmes through the mat. But Larry got up and came back and won it. Yeah, that was amazing. But Ernie's days as a top contender were over at that point. Okay. Now, he carried on until 1987, winning a few and losing a few. Men like Randall Texaco, a loss, Joe Buckner, a win, and James Quick Tillis, another loss. He retired in the summer of 1987 after the win over Larry Sims, only to make a shocking return to the ring in 1995, age 50, right? Now, Ernie managed to win over a guy named Brian Morgan, but then was stopped in 2 rounds by somebody called Brian Yates. Never heard of neither one of them, right? Yeah. What were their names again? I forgot them already. Never ever heard of them? No. Brian Morgan and Brian Yates. Okay. He beat Brian Norman when he came back in 1995 at 50, and then he lost to somebody named Brian Yates. Shavers' final pro record reads 72 wins, 13 losses, 1 draw, with 67 knockouts. Okay, the Acorn. Here's a shot of the Acorn. No, it ain't. After his career, yeah, he had 66 knockouts and 72 wins. That's up there. .6 knockout ratio for the Acorn, Ernie Shavers. Okay. Next is going to be on our heavyweights today, Joe Buckner. Joe Buckner. Okay. Yeah. Here's Joe. Yep. Let's talk about Joe. English fighter. Started like in the 60s. Joe did. Here we go. Joe Butler. He fought all up in the 70s. Ali, Frazier. Mm-hmm. Yep. Joe was in there with some big, huge names. Didn't beat too many of them, but hey. He would be a champion nowadays, though. Joe Butler. Yes, he would. Probably be undisputed. He was tough. Tough man. You ready in a moment? Okay, here we go. Joe Butler. Oh yeah, Mike Grimm. What's up, Mike Grimm? Man. See Mike coming again. Salute Mike Grimm. Okay. Joe Butler, the idiomatic heavyweight who battled legends. You told you Joe was in there and all with all of them back in the golden age, the best time ever for the heavyweight division. Okay. Early life in Hungary and England. Now, Joe Butler was born Joseph Crew Butler on March 13th, 1950 in Hungary, in the difficult post-war years of Eastern Europe. His early childhood was marked by upheaval when the 1956 Hungarian uprising against Soviet rule was crushed. His family fled as refugees. After a brief period in Austria, they settled in St. Ives, Cambridgeshire, England, when Joe was just a boy. Life in England was not easy. As an immigrant child, Joe often felt like an outsider, but his physical gifts quickly stood out. He grew tall, strong, and athletic, excelling in swimming and track before finding boxing as a teenager. The discipline of the sport suited him, and by age 17, he was ready to turn pro. Okay? Early career and the rise through Britain's heavyweight ranks. Butler made his professional debut in 1967. And within a few years, he was climbing the British heavyweight ladder. Blessed with a long reach, fast hands, and remarkable durability, he combined size with technical ability, though he often fought cautiously. His breakthrough came in March 1971 when he faced Henry Cooper, the beloved British champion, who had twice fought Muhammad Ali. The fight was close and fiercely contested. At the final bell, Butler won by a half-point margin on referee Harry Gibbs' card, a decision that sparked outrage among British fans, many of whom believed Cooper had done enough to win. Although Butler became the British Commonwealth and European heavyweight champion, the victory made him unpopular. Beating a national hero like Henry Cooper, especially as a Hungarian-born fighter, gave him an image problem he would never quite shake in Great Britain. Okay? Then he faced the prime Ali and Frazier. Okay, yeah, that's Frazier. I don't know what happened to Ali. But facing the prime, Ali and Frazier. Okay. Okay, that's Frazier. Facing the prime, Ali and Frazier. Yeah, fought right in that era. Joe Frazier, 1973. Fought Frazier first. Okay. In July 1973, Bugner fought former world heavyweight champion Joe Frazier at Earl's Court in London. At 6'4", Bugner towered over Frazier and used his jab effectively. But Frazier's relentless pressure carried the day. Bugner lost a 12-round decision, but he earned respect for standing up to Frazier's brutal body attack and left hooks. Muhammad Ali, 1973. I don't know what happened. It's gone. Muhammad Ali, 1973. Ray Patterson in the building. What's up, RP? How are you today? We're just looking at a few different heavyweight fighters today for the profile. I don't think I'm gonna get all of them. We had 8, and I'm only on the 3rd one. 4th one. There's the buddy Tony Bugner. Yeah, the 4th one. Okay, we're gonna get as many as we can. And Joe Bugner now. What's the loot, RP? Joe Bugner now. Muhammad Ali, 1973. Fought Frazier and Ali in the same year, too. Later that year, after losing to Frazier, Bugner got his first shot at Muhammad Ali, who was rebuilding his career after losing to Frazier and defeating George Foreman, still lay ahead for Ali. The fight took place in Las Vegas, Nevada. Bugner stayed on his feet, boxed cautiously, and went the full 12 rounds, but Ali won a wide unanimous decision. Still, few heavyweights of the time could claim to last with Ali, and Bugner's stock rose dramatically and internationally. Muhammad Ali, too, 1975. This was the fight right before the Thriller in Manila with Joe Frazier. So this was Ali's Thriller in Manila dress rehearsal against Joe Bugner. Bugner's most famous fight came in June 1975 in Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia. This was Ali's final fight before his legendary Thriller in Manila against Joe Frazier. Fighting in intense tropical heat, Bugner again proved his durability. He boxed behind his jab, absorbed Ali's combinations, and lasted the full 15 rounds again. Ali, as always, controlled the pace and showboated for the crowd, but Bugner was never knocked down. Went 30 rounds with Ali, never knocked down, lost 2 decisions. Though Bugner clearly lost on points, he left with his reputation as one of the most durable men in the division intact. Ali himself said afterward, Joe Bugner is a good fighter. He's no easy night for anyone. Okay? High praise for Muhammad Ali. He said, Joe Bugner is no easy night for anyone. Criticism. The two defensive heavyweight. That's what they said about him. Some of his criticism. Despite his ability, Bugner never won over British fans. Critics accused him of lacking aggression and fighting safely rather than taking risks to secure knockouts. His decision win over Cooper had already turned the public against him, and his cautious style didn't help at all. In truth, Bugner's style was pragmatic. He relied on his jab, reach, and conditioning, rarely allowing himself to get drawn into reckless exchanges. Against fighters like Ali and Frazier, this approach kept him standing, but it also reinforced the view that he lacked the killer instinct to be a world champion. Reinvention in Austria and later career. Frustrated with British boxing critics and public criticism, Buckner retired briefly in the late 1970s. However, he moved to Austria in the early 1980s, where he reinvented himself as an adopted Aussie fighter. There, he was more warmly received, admired for his toughness and larger-than-life character. One of his most notable comeback fights came in 1987, when he returned to London to face rising British star Frank Bruno at White Hart Lane. At age 37, Buckner was way past his prime, and Bruno's power overwhelmed him. The referee stopped the fight in the 8th round. Buckner fought sporadically into the 1990s, winning the Australian heavyweight title, improving his longevity. He finally retired for good in 1999 at nearly 50 years old. Life beyond the ring for Joe Buckner. Here's a shot of Joe after boxing. Crush, what's up, Crush? The legend in the building. Salute. Yeah, we're looking at a couple of different heavyweights today for the profile. Joe Buckner now. Yeah, he finally retired almost 50 years old in 1999. Almost 44 decades. 5. 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, but he stopped in 1999 with 44 decades. Life beyond the ring for Joe Buckner. There's Joe after boxing. So, Buckner parlayed his fame into a career outside boxing. He appeared in films, on television, and became a colorful personality in the media. In Australia, he was remembered not just as a fighter, but as an entertainer. He also had business ventures and engaged with the boxing community, though he occasionally clashed with promoters and journalists, reflecting his complex personality. Career record and achievements for Joe Buckner. He ended up with a record of, he had 83 fights as a professional, 69 wins, 13 losses, 1 draw, 41 knockouts. Notable opponents: Muhammad Ali 2 times, Joe Frazier, Henry Cooper, Frank Bruno, Ron Lyle, Ernest Shavers. Fought right in the golden age of heavyweight. Titles held: the British heavyweight title, Commonwealth heavyweight title, European heavyweight title, and the Australian heavyweight title. No major titles, none of the major sanctioning bodies. He didn't win any of those. Legacy. Joe Buckner remains one of the most intriguing heavyweights of his time. He fought 3 of the greatest heavyweights in boxing history: Ali, Frazier, and Bruno. And though he never reached the pinnacle, he stood as a perennial contender for nearly 4 decades, almost 5. Well, 4 because the 90s, he wasn't no contender then, He is remembered as a survivor. He went the distance with Ali twice and Frazier once, a feat few others matched. Went 30 rounds with Ali. A controversial figure, loved in Australia, criticized in Great Britain. His reputation depended on who you asked, An enigmatic personality, smart, witty, but sometimes aloof. Buckner was never just another fighter. In the pantheon of heavyweights, Joe Buckner may not be ranked among the champions, but his longevity, durability, and the caliber of opponents he faced make him a significant figure in the golden era of heavyweight boxing. Joe Bugner. Okay. All right. Let's see. Let's go to after Joe Bugner, Roland LaStarza. Roland LaStarza gave Rocky Marciano one of his toughest fights. Here's Roland and Rocky, rolling on the left. You're Roland LaStarza. Yeah, just a few heavyweights today. We're not going to get them all in. Probably be the last one. We had James J. Braddock, John Henry Lewis, and Georges Carpenter, but yeah. Let's tribute do John Henry Lewis because stay in order. Roland LaStarza. Yeah, Roland LaStarza. Yeah, let's take a look at Roland. Now, we'll say the rest of them for another day. Okay? All right. Roland. Okay. Yeah, that's Roland and Rocky right there. It's Friday, the big fight tomorrow. Bill and Brian Norman Sr. acted up at the thing yesterday. Yeah. Roland LaStarza, the gentleman contender of the heavyweight division. Early life and introduction to boxing. Now, Roland LaStarza was born on May 12, 1927, in the Bronx, New York. Of Italian descent, he grew up during the Great Depression in a working-class neighborhood, where boxing was both a popular pastime and a path out of poverty. As a young man, LaStarza found solace and discipline in the ring, and his natural athleticism and intelligence quickly distinguished him from other young fighters in local gyms. He developed a classic boxer style, cautious, technical, and extremely efficient. LaStarza wasn't a knockout artist, but his ring IQ, timing, and ability to slip punches made him a difficult opponent for any heavyweight. He turned professional in 1947 at the age of 20, just after serving in the U.S. Coast Guard during World War II. His rise through the ranks. For Roland. LaStarza began his career with an impressive undefeated streak. Between March 1947 and March 1950, he compiled a 37-0 record, defeating a mix of journeymen and rising contenders like himself. He quickly built a reputation as a smart and elusive fighter. He was never flashy, but his technical skill and consistency earned him respect in a division packed with heavy hitters. His big break came on March 24th, 1950, when he faced an up-and-coming Rocky Marciano, also undefeated at the time. The fight took place at Madison Square Garden and was highly anticipated. Yet they fought twice. The second time was for the title. Rocky wasn't champion at this point. But the fight between them was highly anticipated at Madison Square Garden. LaStarza boxed brilliantly and fought Marciano to a razor-close split decision loss. The only split decision of Marciano's career. Remember? He never lost. And that was the only time somebody ever won on one of the judges' scorecards. Okay? Only split decision of his career. Many observers believe LaStarza had done enough to win. It was a brutal, bruising fight, and LaStarza's ability to stand toe-to-toe with one of the most feared punches in boxing history, elevated his profile. Okay? That elevated his profile against Rocky. Yeah, that's him and Rocky. Many people thought he won. Setbacks and resurgence. Following the narrow loss to Marciano, La Starza suffered his first career blemish. So his pep was occasionally hampered by injuries and promotional conflicts. Over the next few years, he continued to fight top-tier opponents and gradually worked his way back into contention. He defeated Rex Lane in a major 1953 fight, which earned him another title shot, this time a rematch with Marciano, now the reigning heavyweight champion. You see, the second fight was here for the championship. The rematch, La Starza versus Marciano, 1953. The first one wasn't a title shot, but it was still a big fight. Now this is the rematch, 1953 for the title. Rocky is now champion. On September 24th, 1953, La Starza faced Rocky Marciano once again, this time for the heavyweight championship of the world, at the Polo Grounds in New York City. La Starza fought skillfully in the early rounds, using movement and counterpunching to frustrate Marciano, who was known for his relentless pressure and knockout power. However, Marciano's power eventually wore La Starza down. By the 14th round, La Starza had sustained significant punishment, and after being knocked through the ropes, the referee stopped the fight, declaring a TKO victory for Marciano. Despite the loss, La Starza earned praise for his courage and tactical skill, especially in the early rounds. Later career and retirement for La Starza. There's Roland. After his retirement. Later career and retirement. After the Marciano fight, La Starza never quite regained the top contender status. He suffered several key losses, including defeats to Dan Bussaroni, Don Cockrell, and Archie McBride. His timing and reflexes began to fade. By 1961, after a few comeback attempts, he retired from professional boxing with a record of 57 wins, 9 losses, 27 knockouts. La Starza may never have won a world title, but his record and reputation speak volumes. He was one of the most skilled defensive heavyweights of his era, known for giving Marciano one of the toughest fights of his career. Roland La Starza, okay? Can we get one more in? Life after boxing. Not finished rolling yet. Unlike many boxers of his time, Roland La Starza made a smooth transition out of the sport. In the 1960s, he moved to California and pursued a career in acting. Thanks to athletic build and charisma, he found steady work in television and film. He appeared in shows such as 77 Sunset Strip and Perry Mason, and also acted in films, including The Gallant Hours in 1960, and Requiem for a Heavyweight, 1962, a boxing drama in which his real-life experience added authenticity. 77 Sunset Strip. I know y'all don't remember that show. That's before y'all time. 77 Sunset Strip. He was in that. Wow. Okay. La Starza also worked as a boxing commentator and occasionally trained young fighters. He maintained a reputation as a gentleman of the sport, dignified, thoughtful, and humble about his achievements. He stayed connected to the boxing world but never tried to capitalize excessively on his fame, legacy, and death. Roland Lastarza passed away on September 30th, 2009 at the age of 82. Though he never became heavyweight champion, his name is often mentioned among the most skillful and respected fighters of the 1950s. In boxing lore, Lastarza's significance lies in his rare blend of intelligence, technique, and integrity. He is perhaps best remembered as the man who came closest to defeating Rocky Marciano at his peak. For that alone, his name remains etched in the annals of heavyweight history. Roland Lastarza. Okay? Yes. And then we had James J. Braddock. Let's see if we can get James J. in. James J. Braddock. Let's get James J. in. And that'll be it. I really wanted to do John Henry Lewis. Let's take a look at John Henry. See if we can get John Henry Lewis. He was he went blind. His career, Joe Louis fought him at the end to make it one final payday because he was getting ready to take his boxing license because he was losing his sight. John Henry was. Okay. So yeah. Let's take a look at John Henry Lewis. And that'll take us to the end. He was light heavyweight majority of his career. And remember, we talked about Thomas Molyneux, former slave who earned his freedom from slavery. He was his great uncle, John Henry Lewis's great uncle, something like that. Because Molyneux was back in like the 1700s, somewhere way back there. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yep. Okay, let's see. Bear with me. Y'all ready for the big Riyadh season tomorrow? Weigh-in is today. Yeah, Mike, I see what you're saying. I don't like Rim. I don't know what Devin. I seen that what he was doing in that face-off. God damn, he was moving up and back and forth, side to side. Like you say, he running already. Mm-hmm. Damn. Brian Norman looked like he ready to take care of business. You know? Yeah. Norman looked like he was ready to take care. He's ready to take care of business. I don't know. I don't know who I got. Now, tell you the truth. I don't know who I got. Told you I was wavering. I done wavered all the way now. I ain't got nobody. Okay, I'm just gonna enjoy it. I like the way Yard was like his energy. I don't know if it's gonna be enough to beat David Benavidez, but you know. I don't know what's going on now, man. This is crazy. That stuff. Okay, let's go back to James J. Braddock, like I should have did in the first place. We still got time. Let's get him started. James J. Braddock, yeah. Going to be the final heavyweight for today. To be James J. Braddock. And there he is, James J. Okay. Okay, here we go. Haven't seen Thomas Hill today. Maybe he's busy listening. Thomas Hill said we're in the copycat era. Yeah, he's right. Everybody want to take shortcuts nowadays, you know. Followers. In the back when I was growing up, we were elitists. You know, we didn't do no following. You know, we made our own path. But nowadays, there's a lot of followers. It's he was right. This is the copycat era. But how come I can't get James J. There we go, right there, James J. Braddock. Let's get into it. Okay. Let's see. James J. Braddock. That's him up there on the screen. Now, James J. What's it? Braddock. He was the one Joe Louis beat when he first won the title. Took it from James J. Braddock. Okay. Yeah. The real story behind Cinderella Man, the Cinderella Man, James J. Braddock, Joe Gold, Max Baer, and the Shadows of the Fight Game. Now, Ron Howard's 2005 film, Cinderella Man, presents James J. Braddock as a quintessential American underdog, an honest, hardworking everyman who rises from poverty during the Great Depression to claim the heavyweight championship of the world. It's an emotional, inspirational, beautifully crafted piece of cinema. It's also only half true, though. Also only half true. Behind the Hollywood glow lies a far more complicated reality, one shaped by mob influence, political maneuvering, backroom deals, and the complicated personal dynamics of the men who controlled the sport during one of the dirtiest eras ever in boxing. They used to call that era the boxing the red light district of sports. Braddock's comeback was real, and his grit was undeniable. But the clean-cut narrative of a noble fighter triumphing through sheer willpower obscures the shadowy forces that helped engineer that miracle. Braddock, heroic, yes, but not the whole story. James J. Braddock was a rugged working-class fighter, born in 1905, raised in New Jersey, and hardened by poverty. He turned professional in 1926 and showed early promise. But a series of hand injuries, poor management decisions, and mounting losses left him nearly broke by the early 1930s. He scraped by on relief checks and dock work, something the film accurately emphasizes. Then came his miraculous 1935 upset of heavyweight champion Max Baer. The movie captures the spirit of the comeback, but what it doesn't show is how much of Braddock's rise, and especially his payoff afterward, was orchestrated by his manager, Joe Gold, and by the powerful promoters and mob figures who controlled boxing's economics. Okay? Yeah, the film left that out. Yeah, like I said, don't let the facts get in the way of a good story. Okay? Don't let the facts get in the way of a good story. Joe Gold, loyal friend or opportunistic schemer. In the movie, Paul Giamatti plays Joe Gold as a fiercely loyal, salt of the earth manager who stands by Braddock when no one else would. But the real Joe Gold was a far more morally flexible operator. Inside boxing circles, Gold was known for shrewd, often ruthless negotiations, cozy relationships with underworld figures, manipulative tactics, self-serving financial plays. Yes, he stuck with Braddock, but his loyalty was often motivated by future profit, not friendship. His most controversial move came after Braddock beat Bayer. He negotiated a stunning deal with promoter Mike Jacobs that guaranteed Braddock a massive payout and a percentage of Joe Louis's future earnings. Okay? Braddock would never defend the title except against Louis. Yet he and Gold made sure Louis, a rising black superstar, would be paying them for years. Okay? That's how Max Smelling was supposed to get that title shot. That's how Louis got around Smelling to get the title shot. He paid Joe Gold, Braddock's manager, and they was getting a percentage of Joe Louis's future fights for years. Okay? B3 Picks TV in the building. What's up, B3? Yeah. That was the deal Joe Louis made to get that shot. These people were getting a percentage of his fights for like the next 10 years. Okay? Yeah. So the movie depicted that all ass backwards, you know. But like I said, never let the facts get in the way of a good story. So Ron Howard was all messed up when he did that part of it. Okay, but to finish it off, yeah. It was brilliant business, but it was also ethnically rotten, right? Okay, so yeah, that's going to be it. We had 8 heavyweights today. We didn't get to John Henry Lewis or George Carpenter, but we did Razor Reddick, Tony Tubbs, Ernie Shavers, Joe Buckner, and Roland Estarza. All good fighters, but kind of like flew under the radar. Most of them never had titles. Okay, Reddick, Ernie Shavers, Joe Buckner. Tony Tubbs had a title, but he had it less than a year because he lost in his first defense against Tim Witherspoon. Tony Tubbs had all the skills, but you know, he one of them fighters that just didn't like training, and his mental focus wasn't there. Had all the tools, great technical fighter, but didn't like training. His mental focus wasn't there, so you know, clearly cost him from greatness. But he did have a title. He won a vacant title, I think it was against Greg Page in the early 80s, but then he lost it to Tim Witherspoon less than a year later and never got back to the championship. But yeah, next week we're going to look at some cruiserweight fighters that kind of flew under the radar next Friday. And yeah, that's going to be it. But I appreciate everybody for coming through today. B3 Picks, Crush the Legend, Ray Patterson, Mike Rim, the Boxing Menu Podcast Plus, Kong Call, Just Do Boxing, Al Booger, The Drunk Irishman, Ernie Boxing, and Miss Cass. Okay, everybody have a great weekend. The big fight is tomorrow. Have they had the weigh-in yet? I wanted to see Devin because I don't know what he was doing in that face-off yesterday. But yeah, I think I'm gonna still go with Devin by unanimous decision. I think he's gonna maneuver his way through a few tough spots. It's normal gonna track him down a few times, but yeah, and work his way to a unanimous decision. I just think the experience is gonna be the difference in this fight. But we're gonna find out tomorrow. I'm kind of liking Yard now. I like his body language today. That ain't saying he's gonna win, but yeah, we will see tomorrow. But I appreciate everybody for coming through today. Hope you enjoyed the show. We will be back Monday, okay? Because it's Friday. Right is what? The Zone pay-per-view tomorrow, right? Gotta get that one. I don't want to find out later what happened. I want to see this one as it plays out, especially that Devin and B. Norman fight. I don't want to hear later what happened. I got to see this live. Some fights you just got to see live. This is one of them for me, right? But it's tomorrow. I think we got Pro Box tonight too. Okay. Let me get out of here. Just Do Boxing is next. Everybody have a great weekend. I'll be back Monday. If it's Monday through Friday at 2 p.m., it's the Box Story bringing you all that boxing history. Everybody have a great weekend.